Thank you everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's meeting on this glorious day, I should add as well. So thank you for coming along and joining us. Thanks to members, the press and the public for their attendance. Just a couple of housekeeping things. There's no planned fire alarms this afternoon, so if the fire alarm does sound, then please exit the building as swiftly as possible, and TVCA staff members will direct you to the nearest safest exit, Muster Point, so please do follow the guidelines. So on to today's agenda. Do we have any apologies for absence?
No apologies from Angus Kidd and Leeway.
Thank you. Any other apologies from anybody? No, thank you. Apologies noted, thank you. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest today? Thank you. As usual, if any do come up as through the course of the meeting, then please do shout up and just acknowledge them at that point. Thank you. Agenda item number 3, the best value notice and organisation improvement plan. So that's to receive a report from Tom as the interim chief executive, and in terms of the committee's endorsement, obviously we're looking for, which we'll go through then before we make that declaration, and the organisation improvement plan. So if I can hand over to yourself, Tom. Do you just want to, we'll wait a second just till you get seated there.
Thanks. Got lost on my brain. Easily done.
I think it is.
Especially if you're me.
Thank you. We've only just started, so welcome to the meeting. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just give a bit of context. So obviously we received the best value notice back on the 3rd of April. And just to stay up front, we absolutely accept the best value notice, and we recognise that as an organisation we need to make improvements. So the first thing we did on receipt of that notice was we reflected and made a conscious decision that the first thing we wanted to do was to listen. So we set up a number of workshops, and there was 7 in total, of which this committee was one of those, and a number of those were facilitated by the local government association. And we wanted to give people an opportunity to obviously have their say on where they think we are as an organisation, where their frustrations were. And I think I just want to say thanks to the committee, because I think those workshops were really well received, and thank you for all for your input and your honesty in terms of feeding back through those workshops. And with the 7 workshops, I think we've got some really rich insight in terms of where we are as an organisation and where the different committees and different officer groups feel that we are. We obviously did a lot of internal reflection as well, and we basically built a plan on the back of that engagement that we did with the 7 workshops and our own internal reflection. And the plan that you've got in front of you today is the draft plan that's going to all 3 of our statutory committees, so this one, Overview and Scrutiny Committee and Transport Committee, before it then goes forward to Cabinet on the 27th of June for approval. So we wanted to bring the report today with the plan, and we're seeking the committee's endorsement of the plan before it goes ahead to Cabinet. Obviously there's still an opportunity for the plan to be refined if the committee today has got any feedback. In terms of the structure of the plan itself, so we have set out in the report how we framed it. So we've got a statement of understanding in there, which touches on what I was saying earlier. We've then tried to capture the insights from the engagement and the self-assessment, and what we'd like to do is when we report to Cabinet is to present all of the 7 readouts from the workshops. Obviously they're anonymised, but I think it's important that we present those so that people can see that we've actually captured that feedback and reflected it in the plan. We've then set out in the plan our ambition, and there's 5 priorities in there that you'll see. And then in the plan there's an overview of the action plan. But what we're working on, or we've been working on in the background, is a much more detailed action plan that's in effect taking those actions and providing more granular detail around the action owners, the time frames, the milestones, and that's all being finalised this week ahead of it going to Cabinet. Probably the final thing I'll say is that you'll see in there as well as a section on the Independent Advisory Board. So our progress against the plan will be monitored and assessed through an Independent Advisory Board. This is supported by the Local Government Association, and they pulled together a panel of the 6 members on that board whose role is to basically support and challenge us and report into the government in terms of the progress that we're making. So again, that's a completely independent board, and as I say, their role is really to support our improvement journey. And then the final thing is obviously we're asking the committee to endorse the plan, but we're also in paragraphs 19 to 20 recognising that this committee will have a key role in terms of supporting the improvement once the plan's adopted. And what we're proposing is, we can obviously pick some of it up today, but we're proposing that your work plan is basically factoring in certainly the key actions that you think are relevant to this committee to make sure that you've got oversight and can support that improvement journey as well. Happy to take any comments, questions.
Thank you for that, Tom. And I know certainly from the workshops that I attended, it was very useful, and I think a lot of the committee members who attended that found that they were very useful. So thanks to the LGA and yourselves and the team for the work that we've done on those, for that collaboration and partnership working together of all of the committees. So thank you for that. So I'll open it up to any questions to Tom. So has anybody got any questions regarding the information that's been sent out to everybody? Nikki, Councillor Walker, yes.
Okay, Chair, I just would like to point out there are supposed to be people sat next to me and I haven't been sent to Coventry to naughty comments to sit on my own.
No, you definitely haven't.
I mean, I like what I'm seeing in the plan. It's quite hard hitting. I'm disappointed it came to a best value notice. We seem to have had certain issues raised at different stages from our auditors, and then clearly it's felt that hasn't been addressed properly, otherwise it wouldn't have proceeded to a best value notice. So it's not just a case of it's the same things getting drenched up again. It's obviously, it was felt that there hadn't been action properly, else the best value notice wouldn't have been brought in. The best value notice is very serious. I was going to, I've got the section 1 about the nature of the combined authority. I think that's really important. It's 5+1. In terms of this committee and governance, as Tom said, which parts would we be looking at and how often? Because it's really important that we have the opportunity to challenge what's being handed against here, because I'm not saying it's easy, it's not, because a lot of hard work gone into it, but it's one thing putting things on pieces of paper, and it's the other thing to have that culture change, to drive it forward, to make sure that real change happens within the organisation and that we're in under this best value notice for as short a time as possible. So it must be centre of a lot of things, not everything we do, because we've got to do business as usual, but it needs to be a big part of the work of this committee, and I just wondered how we're going to do that.
Do you want to answer that one now? Yeah, thank you.
So, thank you, Councillor Walker. Absolutely, we, as I said at the start, we absolutely accept the best value notice for what it is. I actually see it as an opportunity for us to improve. We have to improve. The letter makes that clear, and hopefully the plan reflects, I think, where we're at, and is an honest reflection of where we're at and where we need to be better. I think in terms of how the committee can support that journey, it's very much for the committee to determine that. Obviously, there's probably some elements of the plan that you're going to be more interested in than others. But as I say, this committee, our 2 other statutory committees and Cabinet all have a key role to play in terms of how they support and hold us to account for this plan, alongside the Independent Advisory Board. So, you know, as officers, we're here to support this committee, to provide you with the information you need in order to be able to provide the challenge and oversight in terms of the actions that you feel are most pertinent to your remit. So we're really happy to work with you. One of the things Emma and I have talked about is obviously not wanting duplication in terms of what the 3 committees do and what Cabinet do. So I think my advice would be for this committee to really focus in on where your remit is and where you think you can add most value.
Thanks for that. Do you want to come back, Councillor Walker? Yes, thank you.
Yes, I'd agree with that. I was going to say it's not putting us doing something that Scrutiny is also doing, the Cabinet's already doing, although we might want to, as either Scrutiny or the governments might want to look at what the Cabinet's doing. But yeah, I mean section part 2 is clearly one that looks like it would fall within our remit, and the other ones, it's not as obvious, but I do think we need that clarity. I'm not sure how, when we say it's up to us to decide, I'm not sure how we're going to decide that. We're going to have a discussion today to decide, or our office is going to come up with recommendations on that.
You want to come in, Emma? Yeah, thank you.
So the paper suggests, so I think we were really clear from the Tees Value Review that we didn't want to, every engagement that we had, we wanted to be meaningful, and we wanted your work to be meaningful, and obviously audit and governance and overview and scrutiny and transport committee, you've all got different skill sets, and audit and governance has its own skill set. So the proposal in the paper is that we have a workshop with this committee between now and its next meeting to identify the areas it wants to focus on, and that could be looking at the sit for recommendations in the Tees Value Review and the recommendations in the Best Value Notice and the headlines in the improvement plan, and looking at which elements you want to look at and to what level, so that we can align those with what Cabinet and overview and scrutiny are doing.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. Could I also ask, in terms of the improvement board, will they be meeting members of this committee or committee at any point?
We can certainly put that to them. They've already met 5 leaders, or I think they've certainly met all of the 5 leaders. They came up and tried to meet all 5 leaders. I think they actually did meet all 5 leaders. So the chair is Rob Whiteman, who used to be chief executive of SITFA. So he's very amenable, and I'm sure the board will be happy again to reach out and meet this committee. I think as well it's about, as Emma said, trying to make sure that this committee is adding value, because obviously there's a lot of players and a lot of people who, which is great, want to be involved and want to oversee what we're doing and get involved, which is really positive. But I think it's just, as Emma said, trying to make sure that we utilise each of you in your own particular way, and utilise the skill set and expertise and focus on the remit of each of the committees. But I can take that one away around the Independent Advisory Board and their potential relationship with this committee.
Come back, Jeff. Yeah. I mean, they need to know we're more important than the 5 leaders, of course. It's just from experience, authority of having an Independent Advisory Board, and I'm not saying straight away, but if at some point we could make them and perhaps us get their take on things, because I think that could be helpful for us, whether they want to ask us about things as well. But I think it would be something I think would be useful at some stage.
Yeah, I'll take that one away. The other thing just to mention as well, that colleagues in Middlesbrough Council have been incredibly helpful, so we've reached out to the Mayor, to a number of politicians, to Eric as Chief Exec and his team, and to understand their experience and what they went through, so that's been incredibly helpful. So I just want to put on my record thanks to colleagues at Middlesbrough for all that support.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that, Councillor Walker. Anybody else got any other questions in terms of the plan? Sorry, I haven't got your name at the moment. Sorry there.
Well, I'm Moss Body from Hartlepool, so
Oh, sorry. So
new to
sorry, yeah,
the
thank you.
delights of the Ordnance and Governance Committee here anyway. I've done it
Welcome,
elsewhere.
Councillor, to the committee. Nice to have you on board.
It's often said that the most stupid question is the one you don't ask. So I'm going to ask this question because I don't understand what it means. So if you look at 23, it says this notice is issued outside the statutory powers of the Secretary of State. And then it goes on to explain, but not very detailed explanation, that there is evidence of best value failure. So has anyone specified whether it's across the board, specifically in certain areas and not in others?
So paragraph 23 in the report is an extract taken straight from the letter from government. So they can issue a non-statutory best value notice, which is what we've got, where they're basically saying they still have trust and confidence in the organisation to lead your own improvement. So we're still in control of our own improvement with an independent advisory board that's there to provide support and challenge. If they issue a statutory best value notice, that basically means that they send in commissioners to take control of the authority. So we've got a non-statutory one, which they say will be reviewed after 12 months, and obviously our progress over that 12 months will determine what happens next.
Right, so, yeah, my nephew is chair of Nottingham City Council, and they got a statutory best value notice. So ours is the next step down in one sense. So what are the failures that they've identified? Any specifically or generally?
They don't get into the specifics of projects or programs, but in the letter, if you go to Appendix 1, you'll see they highlight four areas where they've flagged concerns. Actually, it's a letter addressed to me, so it's the second letter, and if you go in there...
Page number.
Yeah, I read it.
So you can see it says on the...
Page 15 of the...
Page 15. The department's concerns relate primarily to governance, culture, partnerships and continuous improvement. So those are the four areas where government want us to demonstrate improvement. What we've actually done though is there's best value guidance, which has I think 7 best value themes. And so those are 4 of them, but we've picked up the others, so our plan encapsulates all 7 best value guidance themes because we thought it was important to demonstrate across the 7 themes what we're doing to improve.
Okay. So, are you going to monitor incrementally the improvements? So it's going to be every 2 months, or do you have a time scale for, yes we've done this, yes we've done that, no, we haven't done that,
Yeah.
we need to do that?
So the plan itself has got that sort of headline actions. What we're working on and what we're going to present to Cabinet is a detailed version of that. So for each action there'll be milestones, action owners, the steps we need to achieve throughout the 12 months to get to the ultimate milestone. So there'll be a detailed breakdown. We're then proposing to produce a monthly progress update on that, which will be made available publicly and to all of the committees. And then at Cabinet will be a standing agenda item at Cabinet, and I suspect it will probably be a standing agenda item on the other statutory committees, including this one, where you'll be able to dig in and focus on the areas that you want to understand and challenge and probe.
Sorry to hog it, but are you going to provide where we are now so we can make a judgment about how far we've got? Because I could say we've got 10 miles, well if I only start 10 yards away, I haven't got 10 miles at all. So in a sense, we need to know where we start.
Yeah, so there'll be defined actions, which some of them have started, some of them haven't, and the action plan will sort of set that out. In terms of, I guess, how you measure the impact, a lot of that is around some of the cultural stuff, is how people feel, and so we need to think about how we assess that, because obviously it's not always black and white in terms of how you measure some of that stuff. That's where I think the independent advisory board come in, because obviously they're going to have relationships with Cabinet, potentially this committee, and there'll be the sort of softer stuff around how people feel the change is embedding itself. So there'll be the hard actions where we'll be able to say, look, we've done X, Y and Z by these deadlines and we've implemented those changes, but then I think overlaid off the top of that is about how people feel and how we embed some of that cultural change, which is some of the softer stuff, which I guess is a lot of that's hearts and minds and how people feel.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from anybody else or any comments at all? Yes, certainly, Councillor Brogan.
Just a quick one. I think that's on. Just a quick one. Like you, Chair, I went on to the workshops and I found it really insightful. It was a very good experience, to be honest with you. Just a very quick one on the TBC organisational improvement plan, and on section 2 where it says cultural shift towards trust, co-production and respect. How are we going to manage that? Because believe it or not, there is politics involved, and especially, say for instance, I put it as simple as this: we're currently in peacetime, so there's no elections due or anything for the next couple of years. But it's true though, it is peacetime at the moment. No, there's no massive fighting, but shifts will change when elections get near. So how are we going to manage the mutual respect and consistent communication and genuine co-production between especially elected members? I know people have to use self-restraint, but we also know that mayors, leaders of councils and the mayor of the Tees Valley, they're very opinionated, they all have their own says and they all have their own feelings. How are we going to manage that when the time comes?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I guess the first thing I'd say is this is an organisational best value notice, so it's primarily focused on how we as an organisation operate and function, but clearly politics is part of that. I think if you look at the action plan, there's a lot of actions there around how we make sure that we are making sure all of our statutory committees are performing effectively, and that's about us as officers giving you the right support, providing the right information to enable you to do your roles. So there's that side of it. I think there's a lot in there around ownership. So one of the big things we're looking to do, and we've already started this with Cabinet, is about strengthening the roles of Cabinet portfolio holders. So that, first of all, we're looking at the portfolios themselves to make sure they're still right and fit for purpose, but we're also then looking at actually how Cabinet portfolios really own those agendas and lead those agendas and really drive those sort of programmes of work, which means that Cabinet then, going back to the plan, isn't about 1+5, but it's very much around 6, with Cabinet portfolio holders really driving their agendas, which I think will help with a lot of the politics. But again, I'd go back to the point that it's very much around us as officers delivering the improvements we need to make as an organisation. I mean, politics will always be politics, but this plan's very much around the combined authority, and it's a best value notice on the combined authority, and therefore the onus is on us as officers really to drive that, obviously working with yourselves and the other statutory committees to hold us to account and to drive that improvement alongside us.
Thanks for that, Tom. We have got some colleagues online. Is there any questions from anybody online at all? Can't see any hands up or anything. Can we still hear? Yeah, no, well good, thank you. Any other questions from anybody else regarding the plan? No? Sorry, Councillor Walker.
On Councillor Grogan's pipe up is a really good one. I think the slight difference is that when we're sitting as this committee, we're sitting here as part of the combined authority, and we're not, certainly for myself, if I was standing election in my ward, what goes on here isn't really relevant to it's more to your own authority and to your ward, so hopefully that won't come in too much, but I do think it's a good point, because it won't help if you've got a lot of people with their own agendas trying to deal with things. The key thing is about around the culture of us all working together, along with officers and the this committee and the various other committees.
No, thank you for that, and yeah, I completely agree. You know, it is about the committee and as the organisation as a whole, isn't it? And everybody, that, like I say, collaboration and partnership working of everybody getting to that end goal of hopefully eventually in that 12-month window, you know, getting that best value notice removed, or you know, we've achieved between us all, you know, those steps that have been set out in the plan at the end of that 12-month window. So I think it's important that, yeah, you know, we maintain that and how we can best support officers and vice versa, really, as we go through over the next 12 months. And I think it is key that we get that feedback, isn't it, as things progress, like, you know, like Councillor Boddy said there, you know, so that we've got that up-to-date plan and the vision of and the direction of travel that we're taking things in, really. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments at all? No? Yeah. No?
Just one thing, sorry, I'm not sure if I made this point earlier. So the Independent Advisory Board will produce progress reports as well. So obviously we'll report as officers in terms of where we think we are in terms of progress and implementation, but they'll produce something completely independently, which is their role. They'll say, certainly to every cabinet, and I'm sure we can make these reports available to this committee, this is where the board think we are in terms of progress, which is sort of that external validation of what we're saying as officers.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Walker, yeah.
Just one. It was mentioned about having committee meetings, sort of like a workshop or something, before the next meeting, but the next meeting's in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, there is quite. I did know 30th of June is the next meeting, so
we meant September.
The September one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I did note that as well.
Because the diaries it's really baked in.
Yeah, to balance that. No, I did note that one.
I wondered that if that was the case. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Anybody got any other questions? Yes, Councillor Gordon.
It's just a quick one. You mentioned Middlesbrough. Obviously, Middlesbrough are now out of their notice, and you mentioned how helpful they have been. Have we sort of like took what we can from Middlesbrough and implemented it into this plan as well? Obviously, not everything can just be copy and pasted, but the better parts to follow their example.
Yeah, so their best value notice was for slightly different reasons, but we've absolutely sort of taken all of their insight and expertise and experience We've also reached out to a couple of other authorities who've been through a similar process just to understand their sort of learnings and experiences. So I think we've got a pretty rounded understanding of others who've been through a similar process, albeit ours has got a slightly different focus certainly to Middlesbrough's and some of the others, but some of the principles absolutely still stand.
It's good to learn from other authorities how they do it, put our own stamp on it and make it work for us. So you learn from your mistakes, or you learn from the past at least. So yeah, it's good.
Thank you. So just looking back onto the report, there obviously are some recommendations that we just need to confirm. So if I can just take you back to within the agenda, at the top of agenda item 3, where it says about we've got the summary, but then there's the recommendations within that. So obviously the recommendations for this committee is that we note the update in respect of the Tees Valley Combined Authority Best Value Notice, that we endorse the Tees Valley Combined Authority Organisation Improvement Plan as detailed in Appendix 2, which Thomas referenced, and notes that Cabinet will be asked to approve the Organisation Improvement Plan and Independent Advisory Board membership, terms of reference and reporting arrangements when it next meets on the 27th of June, and approves the proposed approach to its own involvement in the Tees Valley Combined Authority Improvement Journey as detailed in paragraphs 18 to 20 of the report. Are we all happy to agree those? Yeah? All happy? Yeah? Yeah. Thank you very much. So they're all agreed. So in terms of the actual agenda, thank you for the input there, Tom, from yourself. So the next meeting that this committee does have is, like you say, on the 30th of June, so not too far in the near future, and it'll be a 2 p.m. meeting. So we look forward to seeing you all then. And, yeah.
I'm on holiday.
Oh, you're on holiday? Oh, well, I hope you have a lovely time.
I did think about cancelling if you still attend.
So if nobody has any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much, and that's the end of the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.